What's up guys, welcome to my channel. So if I had to go from V0 to V7 again in 2 years, these are the mistakes I would avoid, and these are the tips I would give to myself if I have to do it again. So in this video, it will be about my journey from V0 to V7. Meanwhile, I will talk through some of the mistakes I learned through the past. So at first, I started climbing a summer program in university. Just, my friends accidentally dragged me to the climbing gym. I just discovered a new sport. I didn't start it very strong physically. I was barely doing a pull-up, and I'm not good at any other sports such as basketball or soccer. I've tried them all, but just none of them really clicked until I discovered the climbing. Okay, so we all know that when you just started climbing, you start progressing very fast, and most people can progress from V0 to V3 in their first month of climbing, or if you're very strong at first, you might be able to even do a V3 at your first session, which is very impressive. For me, I personally started on like V0 and V1. The only one thing I did it right at that time was actually rope climbing a lot. So I would go to climbing gym with my friends, just only climbing ropes once a week, maybe doing a little bit of bouldering before the ropes, but really not that much. But I think rope climbing really helps me build up that capacity to climb more and train more. That gave me some basic endurance. It helps me understand the movement more. You would try like a drop knee, like flagging, and you will be exposed to all kinds of climbing holds, slopers, jugs, crimps. So basically with one training per week and mostly about rope climbing, I was able to progressing from V0 to V3 safely and relatively fast. It took me maybe 2 months to get to V3. Also because I was physically pretty weak at that time, rope climbing really allows me to have much more volume than bouldering. If I go bouldering, I might only have like an hour long session, but instead of rope climbing, I might have 2 hours or 3 hours instead. Well, there's definitely some breaks in between, but generally rope climbing gave me more volume that I need as a beginner. However, things get a little different when I started climbing V4s and V5s, because you are not able to just progressing as fast as you can do on the first couple grades. But luckily, I was not grade chasing too much at that time. The thing I did right at that time was having consistency over the time. I'm letting myself climbing at least twice a week, go having fun in the boulder, just climb whatever looks fun. Put yourself in that environment consistently. It helps me a lot. And I was able to progress from V4 to V5 in like about 2 or 3 months of climbing. The other thing I find really useful is having some friends around you. As a beginner, you might feel a little ashamed of falling or just afraid of other people's watching you. But this kind of feeling will go away pretty fast if you're climbing with some friends, and you will be able to exchange your beta to each other, spotting each other's mistakes that they made. Maybe there's a place that you should place a heel hook, but you keep trying the toe on it, and your friends pointed out maybe you should try heel it, and you try it, it works. So having some friends is very helpful. From V5 to V6, things get a little bit tricky here because at that time I was transferred from a high school student to a college student. So I was not able to go back to the gym that I always climbing. Instead, I have to climb in a very traditional style gym. What I mean is that gym looks old at first, but that's not the important thing. All the boulders and climbs there are just basically crimps. I was not able to doing ropes that much, so instead I did a lot of bouldering on these crimps. all the climbing holes are a little bit glassy and slippery. I think it was because too much people climbing on them. All these factors in combination giving me a lot of trouble actually. So that's when I started having chronic finger injuries such as A2 pulley strain or A4 pulley strain. Because I was holding on these crimps all the time, I was doing full crimping way too much at that time. On top of that, I'm actually going to the climbing gym more frequently because really the first year of my college, there's not much homework to do, and climbing gym is such a good place to being a bit more socializing for me. I basically went to the climbing gym like 5 times a week, 2 days on, 1 day off, sometimes even 3 days on. Thinking back, I'm actually kind of impressed that I actually did that because I'm barely having 2 days on right now, and all I'm doing is 1 day on, 1 day off. This is different, and I will save it for later this video. However, as I climb more and more on this kind of crimpy style a lot, I was able to progress into a solid V5, maybe soft VA range at that time. So this is like the end of my first year of climbing, doing some V6 and V7s on kilter. But you know, kilter board is very soft, so no, I don't mean kilter board is soft, but kilter board, the gradient is definitely not accurate at all for the kilters. Unfortunately, I broke my left hand wrist. I had a fracture right here on my bone, so I was not able to climb again. I was just accidentally hit a bump when I was bicycling too fast. I stopped climbing for a month. I went to a doctor, I put the splint on. I was able to do a little bit of climbing, one-handed only, but it was kind of bad. I basically did like 0 climbing at all for the first month. For the second month, when I took the splint off, I was able to do very light stuff on my left hand, but still mostly just one-handed climbing. That was during the summer. I took about 2 months off for climbing. That does drive me crazy a little bit sometimes because I was only able to watch the climbing video but never really able to try it with my both hand. So it was hard to get through that. But I was kind of shifting my focus, you know, to other aspects of my life. Also because I'm an international student and I went back to my hometown during the summer, so I was able to just hang out with my family, enjoy the convenient lifestyle there compared to the US. That was kind of fine. On my second half of the summer, I was finally able to do some very light climbing with both hands again. When I restarted, the joy of climbing is like significantly just amazing. The feeling of grabbing climbing hose with your both hands and like twisting, doing all the movements, that pure joy is just so good. I progressed again from V0 to V5 really fast. It's like within a month I was able to get back to V5s, and because I took 2 months off, all my finger injuries are gone. I'm like a brand new person. It's a little off topic, but when I was only able to climb one-handed, I was for some reason like paying more attention to people who like only able to climbing with one hand. Very inspiring to see them climbing even with some disability. So the wrist fracture not just taught me to enjoy the climbing itself again, it also taught me the importance of recovery. That's the time when I realized resting is part of the training. On my next stage, what I learned is the importance of movement variety. I feel like people around climbing like V5, V6, they still should try a lot of style, even you think that's your anti-style. In reality, that might just because 1 or 2 of your friends says, oh, you're so good at pinches, or they just overperform on crimps than you did. I really encourage you to do more a variety of climbing, slabs, overhang, dynamic moves or static moves. So try different movements, maybe climb more slabs, and eventually you realize that you actually suck at slabs, but hey, at least you know you suck at slabs. Anyway, during my time when I was climbing in China, I was able to climb more dynamic moves, and I find that the climbing holds there are more open-handed and you really don't see a lot of crimps on them. I was able to practice a lot of coordination moves, being more explosive in my climbing style. I really enjoy it because it's such a different climbing style than the climbing gym in the US. So when I got back to the US, I was able to climb a V7 in my gym, and I did like multiple of them, and in average it took me like 3 sessions to do a V7 here. Sometimes a V7 there's like a single move that I cannot do, but you know, there are some hard V7s and softer V7s. So I quickly run into the same issue again where I have chronic finger injuries until I have a pretty painful one on my ring finger A2 pulley right here. How bad is it? So basically I cannot do any full crimping at all, and even half crimp will give me 5 out of 10 painfulness. It forces me to only climbing in an open hand position, you know, drag hand position. It really taught me to having a variety of grips, because you don't want to be the climber that only able to do the drag or only able to do the full crimp. Now some really in-cut crimps, you want the full crimp to give you like the best security. But on the other hand, if you full crimp a lot, that will give you like so much more finger injuries. Your joints and pulleys, they're like overextended. Also, climbing more in an open hand is very good for rope climbing as well, because it's more efficient and use less energy than a full crimp, for example. Combined of only allowing myself using drag hand and control my volume overall, I was starting recovered from my pulley strain. At the same time, I started moonboard again. I know it doesn't sounds right when you have a pulley injury, but still moonboard. But here's the thing, what I discovered from moonboard is that you can really loading your fingers in a controlled environment. It really depends on the situation, but what I'm talking about is easier climb like V4 or V5s. Usually on those climbings, you don't have like jumping and like jump and pull, that kind of contact strength involved. So you usually can like gradually loading your fingers on the climbing hold, which is really good for finger recovery, having your blood circulated faster around your fingers, which will also fasten the recovery as well. I kind of use moonboard as my recovery tool, but because of the pulley strain I had, I have to work extremely careful. I set myself some rules that I cannot cross at all. For example, like I was only able to do 2 hours maximum moonboard session, and strictly I will have a minimum of 4 minutes break between each attempt, and I will stop the session immediately if I realize that my climbing form is getting kind of sloppy. These are the rules that helps me to really control the intensity and the volume of the session, so I will not make it worse, but instead make it recover faster. The good indicator of that is on the second day in the morning, if you feel like your finger is not that painful, that's a good sign. If you feel like your injury area is getting more sensitive and like tenderness, that's not a good sign. Like you should take more rest if that happens again. But hey, I'm not saying anything like scientifically, so you should do your research about how to deal with it. But I'm just sharing my personal experience on the moonboard, the intensity, and these are the indicators and the tips I would give myself. So at the end, I was able to do some benchmark V7s on moonboard, flashing a couple of V8s on kilter board, able to consistently doing some V7s in my gym. Also, I was able to day flash a V5 outdoor, that was during a trip when I went to Tahoe, and I just did that V5 in like 3 tries. I've never climbed outdoor that much. The only crack for bouldering I went to is probably just Castle Rock and the Tahoe. I went to Red Rock once, but I've never done any like climbs, you know? Like I was just climbing on some stuff, but like maybe the only thing I topped before that V5 is like a V2 climb in Castle Rock. Really, I was like not doing any outdoor climbings at all. So that's what really impressed me. So here it is, from V0 to V3, maybe climbing more ropes and more volumes overall. When you add like V4 and V5 range, you are started to feel like the progression slow it down pretty obviously. At that time, you really only just want to enjoy the climbing and be consistent about it. I feel like everyone should reach like V5, V6 eventually, like with some consistency. And for V6 and V7, incorporate some limiting boulder session, but also really taking care of your finger injuries. I mean, like, try not to have a finger injuries, but if you have one, take care of them. And just being wise about like the intensity and the volume, you know. You always want to have like either a high intensity session or a high volume session. If you have them both high on the same time, you're likely getting some injured. This is my first time trying this kind of format. If you like it, please let me know. If you don't like it, please don't let me know. Yep, thanks for watching. Okay, just one more thing pretty quick. All I said today was based on my personal experience, and just be mindful that what works for me doesn't mean it works for you. So I encourage you to try it out, but if you feel like something is not working or something is not right, definitely do your own research. Hope you getting stronger, faster, safer, and see you next time.